GAJP, afternoon Trinity Tuesdays, post week one. This is not Destination Chill, but it is Ray and I bringing you the Trinity Report / Trinity Tuesdays, whatever we're going to call it. It's a developing show title at this point. But we wanted to come live for our members on YouTube after the first week to talk a little Trinity. What this show is going to be for the year is an hour of Ray and myself looking at the Trinity from the previous week, talking through situations, talking through players, talking about actionable moves we can make in leagues. And you as the members only get this early. So if you're interested and you're watching this back, Trade and Chill tier on YouTube, like, subscribe. It's in the comments or the description of every one of our videos. $3.99 a month gets you this early every week, and the Dynasty Deal Show on Friday. So with that, Ray, week one's in the books. We got our Trinity updated, a bunch of new players on the radar, a bunch of players we're probably panicking on. So welcome. And also wanted to kick it to you to talk a little bit about what Trinity is for those that are seeing it for the first time. So good afternoon, my friend.
It's crazy, man. We got more people in the live now than we had in the summer on just a whim. We were just like, let's just do it live now. We got time. So we got people in the building. And yeah, like quickly, all this is, it's a bunch of dots on the screen, but inside the dots, Scott, target share, first read targets, first downs per route run, all the things that we kind of look at individually. Air yards are really important. They comprise part of the score. But a lot of times what I see is, people posting a bunch of stats and metrics. Half the people don't know what the hell yards per route run, how it's even created or how people come up with those stats. It's to take all that shit that we like, that we use to analyze pass catchers, roll it into one simple score, and that score is weighted appropriately that correlates to fantasy points. That's it. So instead of just looking at, target, like all this stuff is in there. And what I always say is it's like a long algebra problem or a math problem, Scott. You might be able to look at something and solve it real quick and you just know it, right? But that's what Trinity is, right? It just gives you, it's like a calculator. You punch it all in, boom, here's the answer. But you always got to show your work. So I like to look at some of the underlying metrics and what comprise the score to get the player to where it's at. Now, big thing that I want to set the table with now. The cool thing about Trinity and what I think makes it so unique, unlike any other usage tool out there, most players, most fantasy gamers, what we do, Scott, is we analyze Mike Evans versus Tetairoa McMillan. We look at Jamar Chase versus Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb versus Tyreek Hill, and we try to compare those guys. Well, Tyreek had 30% target share versus CD 20. This is each team. Like the first step of analysis is what slice of the pie is this player getting on their team, on their own team, and then how good is that? So you'll see some players in week one, Tyreek Hill, it's a 7.6. It's a high Trinity score for his team because he got more of the air yards. He got more of the targets on his team. But then you look at Miami and you're like, do you really want a slice of that pie? It may be high up, but do you really want a slice of a pie where the offense is inefficient? They're not moving the ball. So take that in context. Don't just look at the number and high number equals better. You still have to analyze the situation, and that's the beauty of this tool. So let's stop talking about it. Let's pull it up on the screen and appreciate all the members who are in here now. A lot of people are saying they are excited for this one, Scott. So we're going to do this every single week, and there is no really rhyme, reason. We don't have a show sheet listed out on who we want to talk about. So comment, who would y'all like us to analyze and talk about? But let's get into it, Scott. Here's the tool. You can find it on DD Fantasy Football. Bunch of dots on the screen, Scott. Where are we going? Week one.
Well, any team situations that stick out to you? I mean, the ones that come to mind for me are obviously looking at the Chiefs. Now that we know Xavier Worthy's not going to be there for a little while, I mean, how does this impact all of the other names? I'm sure people are thinking about, what do I do with Hollywood Brown? What do I do with some of the other names on the Chiefs that I might not have valued? Are they guys I want to prioritize to pick up or trade for? Let's go with the Chiefs first, because I think that one probably sticks out to most.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess let's start with Hollywood. I mean, without looking at anything other than the players outside of him, like what's your assessment on him? He's probably the one that I would say moves from he was just stuck on your roster. You probably didn't start him. I think his start rate was extremely low in week one, like sub 15% across sleeper leagues. So very few people captured the week that he had in week one. But going forward, I mean, who cares if the reason he did what he did is because Worthy wasn't there after the first play? Like, you see the Trinity, you see him above the regression line. You know, this is historically a pass heavy offense. Chiefs have been top 3 in neutral pass rate for the last 5 years. So that is their identity, right? They're going to throw. And so, like, what's the analysis on Worthy? To me, or on Hollywood Brown, for me, he goes from a player where if you had him, certainly you could sell him. If you said someone offered me a second for him in my dynasty league, like, I'm totally fine taking it because it wasn't probably a player you ever thought you'd have any liquid value on before this season, right? Mm-hmm. But I think he is a player that if you could get him for cheaper than that, based on this usage, I think he's somebody you could slide in for one of those other flex players that you were probably throwing in there regardless. Your Jaylen Waddle type, you know what I mean? Like, man, like, I just sold Waddle in a league this morning. I had to add to him to get a first. But it's a team where I have a bunch of these other peripheral receivers, and I'm like, man, I'm just sitting Hollywood or Quentin Johnston or Keenan Allen. Like, I'm wasting their points, but I'm jamming in Jaylen Waddle. So I think that's one where you can swap him out for a more valued receiver and just fix that position once he expires, because he's probably going to go away at some point, whether Worthy comes back, whether Rice comes back. But this Trinity is encouraging. I mean, there's nobody else that's a threat.
Yeah, so just as people are looking at this, the dots that do not have names registered on the screen, those were players who were below 5. 5 is like the kind of the magic number. You want to be a 5 and above just as far as usage to be kind of in that weekly threshold. So I'm almost positive that's Travis Kelce. Yeah, it's Travis Kelce. Didn't do a munch, but he scored a touchdown in the game. My initial takeaway is I kind of only want Hollywood Brown, but there's probably going to be somebody else, and I don't know who that's going to be. Like, there's probably going to be another one that is within like flex-worthy range. Potentially, I think JuJu had a decent game, 5.2, 10.5 fantasy points. So wasn't world-beating, wasn't great. Kelce, he scored the touchdown, but only 2.
I mean, he was at a 6.27 last year. Like, are we just betting that this is what he is now, or would you probably guess that might creep back up into the
game in which they lost Xavier Worthy? They didn't seem to try to throw him the ball anymore.
Okay.
I mean, what I don't want to do is make wholesale conclusions week one, because it very well could be the game plan by all accounts was we need to prioritize Xavier Worthy, and that blew up the third play of the game. This is one where I need to see another week here, because I guarantee you the game plan this week for Kansas City versus Philadelphia changes. Like, it's not going to look like this. They had to adjust on the fly. Hollywood is the priority for sure. There's going to be somebody else, and it looks like they were trying to figure out who that was. Both JuJu and Kelce above the regression line, which is good. It's Patrick Mahomes. He can't do what he did last game. He led the team in rush attempts. He led the team in rushing yards. Like, they're not going to be able to win and sustain that way. There's going to be somebody else in this offense. I don't know who it is. Right now, if I just had to make a bet on a Kansas City receiver, it's just Hollywood Brown right now. I wasn't really encouraged by Kelce, but I do think it probably changes here in week 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably still dependent on what you can get him for. The problem with trying to go get Kelce, even if you're betting his Trinity pops back up to the mid 5s or low 6s, which is probably the peak. It's not getting back into the 7s or 8s, most likely at this point of his career. I think it's going to be hard to buy him cheap after a bad week 1, because people that have him are going to go, well, Worthy's out. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't want to sell him for half price because now Worthy's out. Like, they anticipate maybe a spike as well. So it might be hard to buy him. So I'm with you. Like JuJu or Thornton, if they're on waivers, people will bid on those guys because, well, they're on the Chiefs, right? And Jalen Royals could come back at the same time. Like, are you just fine leaving all the other skill players? You can have them.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good right now. Like, Kelce, if I had to prioritize it right now and just had to rank it off of week 1, it would go Hollywood, Kelce, and then JuJu Smith-Schuster. do with that what you will, knowing that it could very well be somebody else. But just offensively, I think everybody kind of knows the answer. It's Hollywood Brown. What do you have? 16 targets on the week last week, and yeah, I think it's Hollywood Brown. We do have a question though. Tanner, one of our members here, he wants to talk Patriots. Scott, he wants to talk New England Patriots.
That was another one I wanted to bring up because we have another one of those guys that popped out of nowhere week one that you might be able to bet on as a flex play the rest of the year.
Well, let's pull it up. Pull up the Trinity. Here it is. New England Patriots. Right away, like the first thing you can just discern from this chart of dots without anything is it went pretty well as far as volume and usage. Like Drake May was able to support 3 pass catchers. You see Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, and Hunter Henry inside the sort of wide receiver 3 tiers and thresholds. And for those of y'all who are wondering why it's a wide receiver thresholds and you got tight ends on it, we added tight ends to Trinity last year, and I didn't change and jig things around. So it's really looking at their usage versus wide receivers because that's what they kind of are, glorified pass catchers. So the higher up you see tight ends as far as usage, the better. So right off the rip, yeah, go ahead.
Let me just add to that. Most people play in 1.5, 1.75, 2 PPR. If you see a tight end at the regression line, you can figure if they're getting 1.75 per catch, like it's probably higher in your specific format, if that makes sense, right? Like,
correct.
Like, super encouraged by Hunter Henry. Like, he's being used how you want Travis Kelce to be used.
Yes.
And if he gets 6 catches, he's not just getting 6 points. He's getting, 9.5 or 10 in whatever your tight end premium is. So, like, if you see a tight end that's high and at the regression line or higher, like, that's one that I'm kind of interested in because, in a premium, they're going to get a boost.
Yeah, 100%. And to that point, before we go into New England, let me point that out too, because it's something I always pay attention to. Anytime you see, let me take receivers off the screen. Anytime you see players whose dots way up high, but the usage isn't there, something happened, right? Like this guy right here, Jake Tongas, right? He's way above the line, 10.5 fantasy points, but 2.75 usage. I don't know what that equates to as far as targets and but probably not a lot. He's a sub 3 usage guy. Just be weary. Even right here, Dalton Kincaid, way above the line, scored you a whole bunch of points, Scott, but sub 5 usage, 4.38, 14 points. Just, I'm always a little weary of the high scores, low volume, because something happened and broke right that week for them to score those points. Like, I'd much rather see you kind of floating right at the line and doing, or above the line, but not way too above the line. You always want usage. Usage is what drives fantasy points, not just scoring. I need usage, Scott. So let's
stay on this. Okay. Perfect example. You see where you hovered over Jake Tongas, right?
Yeah.
Now hover over the 2 dots right below him and tell me those 3 names.
Davis Allen, Hunter Long.
And what are all 3 of those? Backup or third string tight ends that got fluke touchdowns. Like that. That's literally where those types of players are going to live. They probably didn't run a ton of routes. They probably didn't get any air yards except for the one target they got for a 10-yard touchdown. Boom. That's why they're above the regression line.
I would much rather chase. If I were going to chase anything on this chart, I'm chasing the guys who are in this like bottom right quadrant, right? The higher usage players that didn't produce. And then you've got to go into why they didn't produce. So who is this? Brenton Strange.
Right there. How about Gunnar Helm?
Is that Helm right there? Gunnar Helm.
Gunnar Helm got used better than Travis Kelce, but of course, only scored 2.6 points.
Right. I'd prefer the Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange, but yeah, like that's, if I'm looking for a bargain, I'm looking for the players who were utilized in ways that traditionally score fantasy points. The result just didn't quite happen that week. But let's answer Tanner's. Let's talk about New England, because I think people are trying to figure out what to do, Scott. First and foremost, whoever these are back here, not good. Mac Hollins and Austin Hooper, and then Pop Douglas back here, way back there. Kyle Williams didn't even register, not enough snaps. Pop Douglas, high up, poor usage, right? 2.35, but he scored a touchdown in this matchup. You got Diggs, Henry, and then Kayshon Boutte, 7.87 score, 16.3 fantasy points. And I don't believe he had higher than like a 20% target share in this game, did he? I don't believe he did, Scott.
No, well, they threw it 50 times.
Yep.
So like the denominator was very high for the offense. You probably can't expect that. But the encouraging thing was the Patriots were about league average in like passing efficiency or passing effectiveness, which is positive if they're going to throw it 50 times. You know what I mean? Like normally when you throw it that much, it's because you had to and you're way behind, or basically like you're throwing it because you have to. You know what I mean? And they're pretty average on a high volume. So that's why this Boutte one is so encouraging, because you're sitting here going like, his value is probably so little coming in. Like he wasn't even on the radar as like an intriguing rookie that someone might pay a second for if he did something. Like he was below that. He was roster clogger status. You know what I mean? And now like you're looking at this usage, and I know it's only 1 week, but especially if the Patriots are going to get in some games like this against, I mean, the Raiders and the Patriots game, if you look at the numbers between the two teams, like that was one of those like dream offensive games where it didn't quite come to fruition for fantasy for everybody, but like the environment was ripe for points. But I'm encouraged for Boutte. I think he's in the same boat as Hollywood Brown, but he's probably cheaper, to where like I'm willing to buy in based on this usage that he is I'm going to go conservative here. He's a top 40, 45 receiver this year.
Oh,
Not saying top 24.
Easy.
Top
easy.
Flex range.
Yes.
He's top 40, which means you can probably start him along the same lines as a lot of other players that you value a lot higher. That's the key here. It is being able to hack the receiver position. Previously, why Trinity is so valuable to me is previously you had to guess in this range, right? You're sitting here going, which one of these dart receivers should I start, Ray? I have five choices for one flex. Tell me which guy's going to pop off. This gives us a little better information to make those decisions a little more aggressively, but more importantly, decide where you want to maybe sell the player that you're uncomfortably having to start because of their situation or their usage. So that's the move with a guy like Boutte. If you're buying in, you don't just start him over a guy that was bad in week 1. You think about, okay, I know you like this player, but who would you bet outproduces who the rest of the year? And if you tell me it's a debate, Josh Downs or Kayshon Boutte?
I think it's a debate. It's a big debate. And
one has dynasty value, one doesn't. I'll leave. I'm not telling you how to play it in your league, but the fact that one probably could be sold for something and the other is like the person that, because here's the thing, the person that has Boutte in your start 11 lineup league, he didn't start him. 3% start rate last week. He's now what's that manager wondering going into week 2, right? Man, they look at that Boutte going, how do I get him in? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So make it easy for him. Send him an offer. You know what I mean? Make another move that allows you to go, you know what? I'll make it easy for you. I'll send you a third for Boutte and I'll start him in my flex.
Well, let's talk about how you can make those decisions. And with usage, I really like about 3 weeks. The week 1 is so fluky, man. It could be, it's just very fluky, right? I think week 1 last year, didn't Alan Lazard play well? It's fluky week 1. So I rolled the clock back to 2024. The last 4 games, fantasy football games, weeks 14, 15, 16, and 17 for the New England Patriots, Kayshon Boutte led the team in usage, right? Pop Douglas outscored him, or was close to, he outscored him. He was close to 11 points per game. Kayshon Boutte right at about 10 points per game. But he led the wide receivers in wide receiver shit, right? And then all the drumbeat this offseason was he was voted team captain. You heard the interview yesterday where he was like, dude, people forget, like, I was a projected first-round pick before what happened at LSU my final season. And then what does New England do in week 1? Like, he was 8 targets. I know Diggs had 7. I think Hunter Henry had another 8, but he didn't just go away. And he was used down the field in areas in which score us fantasy points. If what we would do in the past is this, you would see these names on a list in text form and be like, oh, Diggs is just better than Kayshon Boutte. You got to go with Diggs over Boutte. Diggs is going to outscore him the rest of the way. But when I'm looking at this, what I see is in all the meaningful ways that score points, which is not just targets, right? A target behind the line or at the line of scrimmage is much different than a target that's 15 yards down the field. In the ways in which we chase fantasy production, Kayshon Boutte ate Stephon Diggs' lunch in week 1. Was that just the matchup? Is that because there was no Christian Gonzalez? What? I don't know why, and I'm not going to try to guess it. I'm just following the dots, right? The dots say he was the guy that they prioritized in the meaningful ways that score us fantasy points. You might look at the box score and be like, oh, it's one target difference, man. Not that big a deal. Well, it was a big deal if he's the one getting the air yards, if he's the one doing damage after the catch, if his ADOT is higher. And that is what this score encompasses, all the other contextual things. And you can go fact check it. Go pull it up, Scott, and look at air yard share. Look at some of those things. And it's like, man, he played better than Diggs in week one. In week one. I don't want to chase last week, but this is one that I do want to follow. I was a big Boutte fan coming out. And then even last year, I'm like, man, he looks good. He's playing. They're giving him opportunity. And then to come out there in week one and to like earn it to this degree, very good for Boutte. Very good.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything actionable really to take away from Hunter Henry or Stephon Diggs. I mean, those guys have been good for a long time. Diggs could have been coming back from the injury. So you could easily see Boutte and Diggs flip next week. And You're like, oh, okay, that's the way it should have been. But the reason that I think it's important is, and a Boutte, I know there's some questions on how you should be saying it, but he's a new name that's...
Is it Boutte or Boutte?
I think it's Boutte, but I've said Boutte for years.
Same here.
But he's a new name on the radar, right? That we weren't really taken seriously until we start seeing something like this. So we'll look at this again in week 2, week 3, maybe it changes. But when a guy is that high, even in one game, you got to go, okay, I'm going to take notice of that. And there's some other names that we can point out the same thing, but that's why I wanted to point it out. If this continues, there's just enough luster on that name, Kayshon Boutte, right? If he goes out and has another big game, all of a sudden, the thought of I'm just going to pivot to him for a third is I could easily see the people coming back around on him going, hey, you know what? Maybe he's good. You know what I mean? Yep. Like he isn't just a player that's going to stay in no man's land or stay in roster clogger territory forever. But I think this is just something to point out for week 1, that he's a new name on the radar amongst 2 other names that we expected to be there with Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs.
Can we talk some rookies? We got to talk some rookies. So
I mean, that's what you're loading in there. So I'll do the same thing.
I'm loading it in there. So I'm putting the rookies in the system for those of you who are going to watch this afterwards and be like, Ray, watch it. Watch what you said. I've got Egbuka, Hunter, Warren, Fannin, McMillan, Thornton. What other rookies am I missing? Golden, right? Matthew Golden. I'm missing Golden.
Yep.
Any other rookies I'm just omitting? Pass catchers.
I mean, there's plenty of other ones. You can put Travis Hunter in there.
Yeah, I got Hunter in there.
Okay.
Hunter, Thornton, Fannin, Warren, McMillan, Egbuka. Is that
Colston
about
Loveland? I mean, unless you don't want to even bother with his. I mean, he's a name.
We'll put him on there. We'll put Loveland on the chart. Good night. Whew. Rough.
Hide that Loveland from the eyes.
Let's talk rookie producers, Scott. So you see the rookies on the screen right now. A lot of names have printed, which means above 5. So if your name prints, I can tell the story as to why you want him. He's valuable. Probably should be in a lineup. Let's start at the high end. Emeka Egbuka. When you see this 7.75 usage, which is really good, right? But I want to share with you again what a real. I'm just going to put neighbors on the screen. To highlight like real elite kind of usage. Neighbors is down there. Let me go Puka. Puka's probably a better example, and then I'll take neighbors and Puka off. So like when you've got like real elite usage, it's like way over there. Okay. So I know Egbuka is like in the high end range, but beyond that is where your like superstars live. Okay. So just showing that. So Egbuka, incredible week. High-end wide receiver 1 week. He's inside that tier and he produced as such. Let me take Puka and neighbors off. But what are your thoughts with this rookie class week 1 when the Trinity score leader on the week, Scott, for the rookies? It was Tetairoa McMillan, 8.58 usage. Incredible. This is like that is what you want, right? But it's a Carolina offense. He's below the line. Super high usage. Emeka Egbuka, great usage, high score. And then you got Fannin and Tyler Warren incredible usage right on the line. Like, where do you want to start here with the rookies? Because this is what people love, those rookie receivers.
I mean, I guess we can start with Tet because, I mean, the usage is exactly what you had said a couple weeks ago. Like, it basically is going to be him and everybody else. This backs it up as a rookie. At the same time, like, it's only week one. I'm willing to give the offense a little bit more time, but, like, you had some numbers you were telling me before, but I'm looking at a couple things right now. Like, besides the Titans.
Here's Carolina. I just isolated Carolina on the screen for everybody so they could see it.
So there you go. There's no other threats on Carolina. And besides the Titans, though, the Panthers were stone cold the worst passing offense in the league.
Correct.
Bryce was one of the worst quarterbacks. I mean, per play, they were the second worst offense. And the other problem is they actually ran as many plays as the league average. So it wasn't one of these games where they only ran 42 plays, 46 plays, and he still produced already below the regression line in week one with elite usage. So I'm more concerned, like, when you see a player with that usage constantly under that regression line, that's where you just have to start questioning, like, how much better can it give for Tet McMillan in the current situation with the current quarterback, with the current environment? And that's with nobody. I mean, they have 3 other Nats on the screen, but did they even have anybody over like 4?
Yeah, I'm looking at Leggett 4.6, JT Sanders 4.4, and then Hunter Renfrow 3.8. It just it's not good. This is it's not good. I added Elic Aomanor to the overall.
That's a good one.
Look how far. Like, anytime you see it way down, like, this is. I know they played.
Who did I say was the worst passing offense in the week? The Titans.
The Titans.
Didn't we see Gunnar Helm way down there too?
Way down there. Yeah.
Every Tennessee pass catcher is way low.
Let's just put Tennessee on here just so people can see. Anytime you see a chart like this where everybody is below the line, bad offense. Like, that's without looking.
Quarterback or something is very inefficient, and it's call it what it is, right? Usually the quarterback is terrible at
correct,
delivering the ball to weapons.
And this isn't taking into account Calvin Ridley dropping the ball. It's not taking into account Callahan. It's just what happened, right? Like, this was good for nobody. All those and this is why routes and winning routes and all that shit is irrelevant if you're not getting thrown the ball. If the usage isn't lining up to some of those other metrics that yield you the opportunity to be thrown the ball, none of that matters. What matters is inside of your offense, what does that usage equate to, right? What does that usage equate to? If people are like, man, he got a bunch of targets, he was on the field for 90% of the snaps, dude, it's so far, but I don't know if I've seen one this far below the line. Like, honestly, I am thinking back, I don't know if I've seen pass catchers this far below the line. That's how bad it was for Tennessee in week one. And I'm not saying that's all Cam Ward. He's a rookie playing against Denver on the road. But, like, this is one where I don't just expect Elic to go from here to way up there in week 2. You know, maybe it happens, but I'm not expecting that. But back to McMillan in particular, I guess my takeaway is this, Scott. It was just him. Like, he got all the usage, and I don't know how many targets did he have? 8 or 9 targets in the game, I believe. 8 or 9 targets. And I think Leggett had like 6 or 7. So the targets were close, but how? Like, the average depth of target, the air yard share. Like, McMillan was the guy, but he did with players who had an 8.5 worth of wide receiver stuff happen for them in week 1. He's significantly underproduced, right? And that's not just Tet. It's the offense. That's the quarterback. I'm just not feeling good about Carolina. The only guy who was above the line was Tommy Tremble. 0.34 Trinity score for 1.2 points. Everybody else underproduced based on what was expected and their usage. This is just not what you wanted to see when people were expecting a year 3 bump from Bryce Young. Yeah,
I mean, the other one I wanted to hit on real quick, and then I want to look at Miami because it'll probably look very similar, is, you know, you mentioned Egbuka. Now, Egbuka was great. Like, saying you're at a 7-7 Trinity for a rookie in week 1 is awesome. But Mike Evans actually had a higher Trinity. So it isn't like, because I've heard some, you know, Evans, I mean, it's basically Godwin and Evans over again from years past, right? But Evans' Trinity was fine, and Egbuka scored the 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? So it's like you probably are a little discouraged if you had Evans and you were expecting him to be a wide receiver 1 and you see Egbuka blowing up in week 1. But this is still encouraging for Evans, especially because there's not a lot of gnats. I mean, Sterling Shepard's a little bit of a gnat, but there's nothing else really taking away anything. And the Buccaneers were one of the top 10 passing offenses in terms of efficiency. So it's, that's why I look at passing efficiency in some of these team environments, because when you start looking at the bad teams, you're going, all right, Dolphins, Panthers, Seahawks, Titans, Giants, like those are ones where I'm not saying they can't produce good players from those offenses, but just the bar of what you have to be is so much higher if you're on the Dolphins or the Giants to produce. You know what I mean? So like You got to be really, you don't just go, oh, the third option on that team, let me start him. You're much rather scrolling to the other side of it going, man, who's we don't have to look at this team, but like who's the third option on the Falcons? That's probably not a bad option, whether it's Pitts, whether it's Mooney, whether it's Ray McLeod. I'd rather throw that guy in than the third option on the Titans, even if the target share is similar. You know what I mean? Even if the usage is similar, that's where you start looking at the situation as a tiebreaker. So what we were going to look at.
Couldn't you also see this flip-flopping in week 2 where Evans is the one that's way up here and Egbuka is still used, but he doesn't get the 2 touchdowns, right? He doesn't get the 2 touchdowns. And it was only these 3. It was Egbuka, Evans, and Shepard. Nobody else did crap.
Well, Cade Otton, I think he played like 88% of the snaps, but didn't get a catch. He had 3 targets. So he would be on here if he would have had 1 catch, but he doesn't even register.
Doesn't even register. Before we go, let's go to Jacksonville. We got some people in the chat asking about the Jags and then also the Raiders with Bauer's potential injury. Scott, I got a show with Harmon later today and talking through some. Trevor Lawrence was one of the least pressured quarterbacks on the week. Like I think he's like number 1 as far as like being able to avoid the.
This looks like the Panthers.
This is
everybody's below what they should be, and it's not the line, it's not the talent. Like what is it? The quarterback?
Was it the scheme? Was it the cute? And you don't see Brian Thomas. Where's he at? That's Hunter Long. There's BTJ. So 4.5, got a bunch of targets above the line, scored the touchdown, which really doesn't factor in. But this is, I don't know if I'm encouraged by Jacksonville or discouraged by what we saw in week 1. I like the raw numbers that Travis Hunter had. I'm encouraged by Brenton Strange. That's who I'm encouraged by. But everybody else, like, I just need to see it again. I don't really have a takeaway besides this can't be like, for real. I don't believe Brian Thomas is going to have another 1 reception week. And Travis Hunter was 1 play away from like an 80-yard touchdown, which would have put him way over here. So what is the takeaway with Jacksonville? Kind of not much after week 1?
It's only 1 week, but this is one where I think this is going to be at least an average situation, right? The problem is you have 4 players, 2 of them that were valued extremely highly, and then 2 others where, you look at Dyami Brown and Brenton Strange, they're going to be involved. So now when I tell you there's going to be 2, I don't want to call them high quality gnats, but they're going to be gnats that are not just going to go away, right? Can the quarterback elevate 4 players? And there's different levels of elevate. Can they elevate Brenton Strange and Dyami Brown into being relevant? Can they support Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, both top 12 receivers? That's the question. And the answer may be to be determined, but that's what you're banking for. That's what the prices reflected before the season, that everything was in place, right? The talent, the coach, the offensive line. You said there was a really low pressure rate.
Yep.
The offensive success passing wise was average. The one thing's missing is can T-Law come in and elevate like we were looking at that Tampa Bay Trinity? That's what we want this Trinity to look like, right? Yes. We want it to look like what Baker did last year. And it's easy comparison, but that's what we've assumed based on their prices and their value that this is going to be. So we'll see what this looks like after like 4 weeks. But if we look at week 5 and it's like Jacksonville still everybody below the line, then maybe we have a Trevor Lawrence problem.
The Tanner said it in the chat. He said, I didn't watch the game, but the things that I've seen, T-Law did not play well in the game. I mean, you could, Tanner, I know y'all think I'm crazy. And maybe we'll add this later to where it can show the week's like passing numbers and efficiency, like on the chart. Maybe it's something you click. I could tell you that without seeing anything that the passing wasn't good. Like just if they're below this yellow line, something happened offensively with the quarterback. Like you go to Cincinnati, I bet you it looks exactly the same, right? And it happened in week 1, but I know that Joe Burrow's like that's not Joe Burrow. We all have question marks around Trevor Lawrence and can he? And they're going to run the ball.
Go to the Chargers. Go to the Chargers to highlight what it looks like when it's on the other side.
Okay. All right. Let's pull up the Chargers. Look at that. I mean, that's
everybody flying above the line. You know what I mean?
Awesome to see that. Even Lad's a little below the line, a little because he got used a lot and didn't produce quite as much as that score indicates. But this is what you want to see, man. Like this is what you want to see right here. You know, just flip flop Lad with some Keenan and some QJ, but Justin Herbert's ability to support multiple options in this offense. And then if you just had to throw that Conklin in there, he didn't give you a 0, right? He didn't give you, he wasn't used a lot. I think he had 2 catches. You see, he's not even registering, but if he's going to give you 7 points and you didn't draft the tight end to the last round, you'll take it. You'll take it on the week. But this is a clean chart.
And the reason I wanted to shout out the Chargers is because all the other teams that had the most success passing, like just looking at passing efficiency in week 1, there are a lot of the same names. And the problem with those is, yes, their players will be above the regression line most of the time. But you're looking at like Green Bay, the Jets, the Ravens. Like those teams, what are those teams known for? Like they're not going to throw it a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that isn't, even if I'm getting extreme efficiency, it was the same with the Eagles last year. It was the same with the Lions last year. Even if you're getting extreme efficiency from those teams, you don't often have the ability to also have a game where they throw the ball 40 times. That's what you got out of the Bills. That's what you got out of the Chargers. Now, is it repeatable for the Bills? I don't know. But I think it's repeatable for the Chargers. I mean, last year they were 6th in the league in neutral pass rate. People say all they want to do is run, but we have enough of a sample size that maybe they've realized they have a good quarterback that can throw it 30 plus times and can sustain multiple weapons at a higher than normal efficiency, even if they have a good run game. So I think the Chargers are one of those offenses where, you know, because I've heard I've heard a couple people already this week, right? I'm a little down on Lad relative to what I paid. It's like, well, I get it. He didn't go and get everything Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston got, but there's nothing about this chart that makes me say I'm down on the situation. This appears to be a situation with a top 10 quarterback conservatively with at least a moderate or higher neutral pass rate that can sustain 3 weapons. Now, 1 week it may be Tyler Conklin over Quentin Johnston.
Exactly, Scott.
But the point is, I can comfortably start 3 Chargers. Whatever that looks like, there you go. Like, you pick the names. It's probably one of 4. You can probably put Conklin in there for now. Maybe it changes to Trey Harris later. I don't know. But you could probably bet on this offense being able to support 3 guys in lineups. Not the same as the Jets. Even if they had the best passing efficiency on the week, you know, you pull up their Trinity. It's just the volume's not going to be there, which sometimes can be a little deceiving with these charts.
Well, and then that's the thing, right? Let's go to Miami, and then we'll go to the Jets. But right here on Lad, like if 13 points and he was used to that degree, that many targets, that much downfield work, if that's what I'm sad about, I'm have buyer's remorse about, send Lad my way. Because this could easily, next week, Keenan Allen could dip down inside of the band still, but he's down. QJ's not scoring 2 touchdowns, and Lad's way up here. The fact that he's being utilized in the way and the manner that yields fantasy points, I've got no concerns. It's just, sure, disappointing that he didn't get in the end zone week 1, but had he scored, he would have the highest Trinity on the week, and he would have been above the line, like just with a touchdown from Justin Herbert or a couple of more passes that just didn't go his way. So I'm not worried about it at all. Let's pull up Miami, because this is a really good use case of Lad 7-9. Well, first, before I go to Miami, let's do this. I'm just going to do this. Lad McConkey and Tyreek Hill. If I can spell Tyreek Hill. Just those two. Lad 7.29 and Tyreek 7.67. Vastly different, right? And this goes back to what I said at the beginning. What most people do is say, would you rather Lad versus Tyreek Hill? When I've just adopted the philosophy is that's not the starting point of fantasy football discussions. It's what is happening inside of Tyreek's offense first and foremost. Like, what slice of the Miami pie is Tyreek Hill going to get inside of his own offense? So let's pull up Miami before you can compare him to anybody else, because you'll look at that and be like, man, that's a great score. It was one of the highest on the week. You know, Tyreek Hill's usage, one of the highest on the week. But look at this chart. Everybody is so far below the regression line. It gets my head scratching like, well, let me go look at what this pizza actually looks like. And it is not a brick oven, Italian. You got it from Italy. It ain't one of them kind of pizzas. This is that Totino's pizza, right? That $2 special that you get that we used to eat back in this. Scott, I know you had those Totino's pizzas, right? You put them in the microwave and there you go. This slice, this 7.6 slice, it ain't as good as some players who might only have a 6 Trinity score because the offense is better, right? So you have to, just look at the number and say, I want that guy because it's a high number. What is this offense like? I don't want any part. Nobody's above the line. Nobody, Scott. Nobody in this offense was above the line. So you have to be mindful that this slice of pie is not that pizza from Italy, man. This is Totino's out of Walmart, right? They left they didn't even close the freezer door, so it's a little bit melted, but it's cheap. That's what this pie is right now.
Yeah, that's why the first player that I went out and was trying to sell this week is Waddle. It's not necessarily because, I think there's going to be a strong market for him, but like, it's kind of one of those, there's a stop loss here. You know what I mean? If I can get something useful for him, what do I really have? I mean, look at the usage. Then you look at the fact that and it's only 1 week. The Dolphins could go out and throw for 404 touchdowns, and we're like, this was a mistake to sell all of these guys. But you got to make some bets, right? You got to make some bets that, if they don't fix this thing, it's probably a long road ahead. And it's not even like you can look at Jaylen Waddle on this chart and go, man, all he needs is Tua to be better, and he's guaranteed to smash. You know what I mean? Like, the Darren Waller hasn't even played. They're working in 3 other receivers. It's like, this is setting up to be like, you pray Tyreek can produce. I don't know if it's going to get good enough to where there's 2 or 3 guys aside from that. Forget about Achane. We don't even have running backs on here, but I bet if we put Achane on here, he would register a Trinity because of how he's used. So, like, this is one where, man, if I can get out on Waddle and replace him with one of those guys we talked about earlier in the show, maybe I don't get a first for Waddle, but I bet you I could turn around and get something in a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that feels like how I use this, and I'm willing to make the bet that Miami doesn't turn it around. And even if they turn it around and they get back, go to 2024 Miami. Take a look at that Waddle last year. And I know it was bad, but I mean, it would be better than what we saw in week 1. Is it even that encouraging?
It's not.
It's like, it's the same usage with a little better production, right?
Scott,
that looks exactly like what we saw in week 1. Tyreek, then Waddle, then all Nats. And none of them produced much other than right what they should have.
Scott, I'm just flipping the year. It's the same kind of, the chart looks very similar. It's instead of being, let's just for shits and giggles. Let's go back to
don't even go to 2023. You're just teasing people at this point.
Oh, man, look at that. Look at that Tyreek. And even Waddle. I mean, Waddle.
And you notice that, go back to 2022 real quick. Just humor me. Go to 2022.
All right, 22. Oh, man, look at that.
Has Waddle ever really outkicked his usage, ever? Did you notice he's right on the line every year, no matter where he is? Tyreek's the guy that when it's going good, blows way up.
Yes.
Just saying. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's still a player that even a month ago, you'd listen to people going, man, if this offense turns around, like, give me that Waddle.
Let me go
I just sold
Waddle.
Waddle today for a 26 first. I had to throw in Brashard Smith, but I'm looking at my lineup and I had like Cedric Tillman on the bench. And did I even lose anything by swapping out Waddle for Tillman?
Probably
Honestly.
not. Probably not. No.
So like that's the kind of move where like it's just even if I would have had to take less, it's a bailout. But like that type of move is one I'm willing to make, and he's one of those players I'm willing to hit the eject button just based on 3-4 years of history, and a guy still has some value.
I was trying to look at his range of outcome, but the developer changes to the 25 season, so I can't run it. But I'm gonna have him put it back to 24. I just wanted to see where Waddle his projection was based on his usage last year. Probably within the same range that we are right now. So, yeah, Miami's pretty nasty, man. Let me go to Detroit. Scott, I saw somebody ask about Detroit. That's 24, Detroit. Let's go 25. Look at the Lions.
That's one when you toggle between it's only 1 week. Go to 2024 and 2025.
I mean, you can't even see Amon-Ra up here. I mean, way up here. There's Jamo. There's LaPorta. All above. Even the Nats are damn near above the line. Khalif Raymond above the line. You know, right now, 25. Detroit. Where's Jamo at? Jamo back here. No usage. Who is this? Tesla. No usage, but high fantasy yield. Goes Khalif Raymond, what he always has been. Amon-Ra. Not a lot of usage. Like it's not even that he didn't produce. Like they just didn't the offensive game plan, like they just didn't use these two in the week. So I'm just expecting it to get better. That's all I can share with you is I'm expecting it to get better, but it was encouraging to see Sam LaPorta way up here after kind of being banged up all summer. People, they were saying he had an injury, but nobody knew what it was. He didn't look injured at all. And, Jared Goff, I think there's this crazy stat out there that when McVay or Ben Johnson aren't calling plays, he hadn't won a game in the NFL. Like, not good. And when he was pressured, he was just getting the ball out fast, and Sam LaPorta was the beneficiary. But inside the same game, Scott, I got to ask you, Green Bay has been one that you have been very out in front of as far as just an offense that is, you have a lot of concerns about the pass catchers. And week one's chart looks just wild to me because Doubs has the highest score, 8.04 of this offense, but he got you nothing. Reed, who was supposed to be his foot amputated, he led the team in scoring and, 7.3 usage. There's Wicks, who's named Prince. Tucker Kraft scores a touchdown, but the usage wasn't particularly high. And then the rookie wide receiver, Matthew Golden, played sparingly. Below the line, no usage for the wide receiver one on this team. Were we way too out over our skis with Matthew Golden coming in and being the one in Green Bay when not what I said, not what you said, what Green Bay did in week one was give 3 other receivers more opportunity and a tight end?
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay's been fascinating because last year everybody blamed the way they played on the Jordan Love injury, and which was probably a real thing. Like he did get injured early on, and they did deal with that all year. But then there was kind of this meteoric rise from the Green Bay offense, and had it been more concentrated, I think people would have pumped up Matthew Golden even more, Ray. But they know, he got pumped up because of the Jayden Reed injury, and maybe Jayden Reed is injured, but it doesn't look like it. It looked like he was fine. And so we know they have a lack of concentration. The bigger concern for Green Bay is that their defense is good. They don't run a lot of plays. They have a very low neutral pass rate, which they did that last year. And all I heard was, they're going to play differently now because Love is healthy. Well, what do they do in week one? Exactly what they did last year, but they did it with an even better defense. So like this feels like, and I'll give this comparison. I don't want to put this quite on Green Bay because I think it's lofty. This feels like another Eagles, but with not the concentration the Eagles have. Because they have a running back that's the guy they're running the offense through. And now they do not have an A.J. Brown or a Devontae Smith where they're going to funnel 30% of the targets to those guys. Instead, they have a tight end. You could probably say Kraft and Goddard are comparable, but the receivers, if you have 4 receivers that are all getting used between, let's give Golden the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he gets up to a, 4.5, 5. Like, I don't want to see 4 receivers trying to squeeze in what like the Eagles tried to run with last year, but that's what the offense kind of looks like. So I would have no problem hitting the abort button on Golden, unless these other gnats go out of the way. Like, you probably need Doubs or Wicks or Reed to get injured for him even to have a hope.
Screw what we thought. It doesn't matter what our draft analysis was. The Green Bay Packers in week 1 gave Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed significantly more run than Matthew Golden in week 1. And then that doesn't include, there's no running backs on here. So it's just tight ends and receivers. And then you still have Tucker Kraft. I'm not closing the door on Golden, but man, those beans have rotted with him just stepping into this offense and being the one. Like,
you want me to give you the absolute best case scenario for Matthew Golden's outcome 2 years from now? And this is going to be a little sobering. And I know this guy had a great week 1. His absolute best case, just the way that I'm looking at how they're playing, the way they're building their defense, the way they're running their offense, the absolute peak 99th percentile ceiling for Matthew Golden is Zay Flowers. And that's a guy that before this week no one even wanted.
Yeah, no one wanted Zay until he's the damn wide receiver 1-2 on the week.
And pull up Baltimore, because Zay was great in week 1, but consider what stands out about this chart. Like, he was great, don't get me wrong. His usage was great. But doesn't he also benefit to a degree that there's like really there's
nobody.
There's nobody else. Like, the pie is not going to be huge, but if it becomes less concentrated, then it's still a problem for Zay Flowers.
Is this a problem, Scott? Is this player Mark Andrews a problem? In a game in which they scored 81 points total score, the Baltimore Ravens scored 40, and you tell me that Mark Andrews, like this?
I mean, dude,
I don't know what
it's an anomaly. They had the best passing offense in the week. They had the second best running offense in the week. They scored 40 points. They only ran 50 plays, which was the 4th lowest on the week. So the fact you only run 50 plays and get 40 points.
40 points.
I mean, there's teams running 80 plays and they score like 18 points.
Right.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
So you're not worried about Andrews yet.
I am concerned that. Do I think he's this bad? No, but. I mean, we've looked at some other tight ends. I mean, are you telling me right now you'd bet on Andrews to be better than Hunter Henry and Brenton Strange?
Not right now.
I mean, that's like, you kind of hope he gets to where we showed their level was, right? And that's definitely not tight end 6 that people drafted him to be. So I'm worried to that degree, but worried that this is going to be the permanent. No. I mean, I think he probably is a low end tight end 1, maybe.
One of the most depressing charts on the week. Houston Texans. I just want people to let's toggle to 2024. Just watch this. Watch the structural change of the screen. I'm not going to say anything. Just watch what happens. Right? That's 2024. Here's 2025. 1 week. 1 week sample size. We don't want to overreact.
This might be the worst one I've seen. Because there's too many dots.
There's a lot of
none of them are good, and none of them are getting used good, and none of them are good.
There are a lot of dots. Where's old Nico at? Nico's probably where's Nico at? That's Noel.
Right in
There's
that little
Nico
chunk
right there.
Xavier Hutchinson and Cade Stover, the 2 names you had him pegged to be right by.
This is where I just don't trust the Trinity. Nico's just got to be better. Like, he's got to be better. He's got to be better.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you want to paint it positively, somebody has to be better. Like, Cade Stover broke his foot, so he's done.
Yes.
So maybe Dalton Schultz pops back up. He's not any good, but he could jump up into the range where you could use him. But there's opportunity for somebody to be better. And I think
he's so bad, Scott. I pumped up Schultz before the game. I said it's not going to be Higgins. It's not going to be Noel. He catches that ball and couldn't get the first down. He looked like he was running in mud. I mean, a 5.43 usage, and he's way below the line.
Like he He literally split snaps 50-50 with Stover, and Stover broke his foot. So, like, by default, he's going to get more opportunity, probably, even if he's not good.
All right, let's try to do this every week, Scott. As we close out the show, we'll go an hour. I don't want to tell people to go spend money on a player right now, but are you buying Juwan Johnson? Are you buying in? And I started to look at some other underlying metrics. What happened in week 1? And a lot of people were like, "Well, Olave went to the tent, but Olave still got years. He was still utilized quite well." But in an offense, Juwan Johnson was first or second in the NFL. He was first among tight ends in quick targets. In quick target attempts, he had 8 of them. Those are throws less than 2.5 seconds. That would have ranked number 4 of all pass catchers, only behind Puka Nacua, Drake London, and there was one other high-end receiver that got more quick targets than Juwan Johnson. So this was clearly the offense getting it out quickly. You've got a veteran tight end. Everyone knows that tight ends are a quarterback security blanket. Look at Hurts in Philadelphia when he had to get the ball out. Look at Tyler Warren, Harold Fannin getting the ball out quickly. And they've needed a tight end in this offense. I think Rashid Shaheed, honestly, this is where he's been. Like, that's where Shaheed lives. If anything, I'm hoping maybe he gets above the line a little bit more, but I don't expect him to take over this offense for Olave. Are you buying into Juwan Johnson? And maybe this was a byproduct of Kamara only getting 2 targets on the week as well.
Yeah, I see in the chat this was a replacement for Kittle. I think that's how you have to treat him. I think the way to adjust, it's Juwan Johnson. He's been around forever. So to think he's going to morph into something way different than what he's been, I'm not going there. But you highlighted something. He played almost every snap. He played the 3rd most snaps of all offensive players in the NFL this week. So right there, he's going to be on the field. It's an offensive environment that popped up basically in the top 5 of everything in terms of how they want to play. Now, the problem is their quarterback stinks. Even if they bench Rattler, we expect the next quarterback probably to stink. So we're not going to get the high quality we would get. But they played a lot like you'd want to see like the Chiefs or the Bengals play. That's how they're playing. It's just a neutered quality version of those offenses. But yeah, like give me the number 2 or number 3. I mean, I'd still be fine with buying into Shaheed for the environment. He's not great, but he's getting some usage in an environment that you hope to be pretty good the way that they're playing in week 1. So yeah, I think he's the one of all those like late round tight ends that you probably are going to get more than what you paid for. Like he's kind of trending to be like what Gesicki was last year. And that, take that at what it might be in your league. I'm not saying go pay a second for him, but like, think about in your league how they value Mark Andrews versus Juwan Johnson. Is there a move you can make? I'm just saying, think about that kind of thing.
We got to do this for Josh. Josh was one of our first members on the channel. We got to do this for Josh. He wants to talk about Harold Fannin. Scott, you see?
Are you just ISOing Fannin? You just going to glaze only Fannin on the screen?
Tillman, I'll be on with Harmon soon. Is this a sneaky, decent environment with Flacco?
Absolutely. This is literally what I just talked about with the Saints, but with Flacco, I probably expect it to be even a little better quality. The Browns have always been top 3, top 5 in neutral pass rate. So this is very much what I was talking about with this is like the Chargers, but not as good as Herbert, obviously. Right. They're playing the same way.
Right.
Like you can start. My question is, I've gotten a couple questions from people about Njoku. Do they panic on Njoku because of Fannin? I know they don't play the same position, but there's probably not room for 4. That's really stretching it. So all these other 3, I mean, Judy and Tillman are good. They were good last year. So I don't know. I might have to buy it, Ray. Something's got to give.
I looked at their alignment, and Fannin played a lot in the slot. I think 50-something% of his like they came from when he was aligned in the slot, not at what PFF grades is the tight end position.
He actually is the slot. Like, you know how you always hear, that tight end's going to play in the slot.
He is the slot. He's the slot receiver. He is, and I said this on Wake Up, he's Joe Flacco's Dennis Pitta. He's Dennis Pitta with Joe Flacco. So I'm buying into it. I want to see what happens with Njoku because he is still Njoku, and I'm pretty sure he's like, hey, man, I need some more damn targets come week 2.
And he still had 8 targets. So
still
unless
had
you're
8
going to
targets. Yeah.
if you're going to take his entire career and throw it aside, I mean, last year he had a Trinity like 6.5 or 6. I mean, it wasn't this low. So, I mean, I think we'd probably give him the benefit of the doubt for another week.
Let's finish with this one with my boy. Pumped up that Odunze, and thank goodness he scored scored the garbage touchdown at the end. But overall, man, this is I don't think it's the worst. Zacchaeus is a problem. And I talked about him all offseason. Like, man, he's gonna be a problem.
Komet's a problem. They're gnats.
They're big gnats. They're big gnats, Scott. They're big gnats. And while I still believe that Odunze is going to be the team's leading receiver, the fact that Moore is kind of I mean, he took how many carries? Like 2, 3, 4 rush attempts. Mm-hmm. He got like, if Caleb can get it together, which it feels like that's a big if, I'm not as panicked on Chicago's offense as maybe how people feel coming out of Monday Night Football. Like it's not great, but this is it's not the worst chart that we've looked at as far as they were all used.
It's a concentration problem. It's not necessarily a quality problem, but like there's just, it's not a good enough offense to spread it around with this many players. I mean, we don't even have running backs on here, but DeAndre Swift had the 5th most opportunities in the league. Yeah. So if he's going to get 6 targets and he's going to get 20 plus touches, you're not also going to be able to support Luther Burden and Colston Loveland when you have Zacchaeus and Cole Kmet out there playing, and you expect 2 top 24 receivers with DJ Moore and Odunze. Like, it's just not going to work. You know what I mean? Something's got to give. I don't know what that looks like, but something's got to be, there's got to be a valve that's released at some point. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit frustrating with some of these Bears for sure.
Scott, I just want to say this is the first time we've done this live, talking through Trinity like this, and really enjoy getting your perspective because I feel like it's making both of us stretch more to really kind of analyze these offenses, right? Neutral pass rate, who's doing what. So honestly, if y'all are here watching this now, you get this information first. Like, go make a move now before it goes public and everybody else is like, oh, yeah, I want to check out the Trinity too. Go use this. And as we progress through the season, Scott, I think we will have some more concrete takeaways. Go buy this player. Hey, we're selling that player. Not yet, not in week 1, but as we progress through the season, I promise you, this is going to be the show where you gain a lot of value. So, Scott, anything do you want to say to the people before we get out of here? Community is popping over on Patreon. Anything you want to say to our good members before we go?
No, I would just say if you're not already in our community, I mean, this is the stuff we talk about when we're not on streams, when we're not doing shows. Like, we're in the voice chat. We're talking about, hey, should I move this player? What would be a good pivot to do this or do that? So if you're interested in that, join the community, the Patreon, the website, where you can also get access to the Trinity. And I'm excited to do this every Tuesday with you, Ray, especially when we get more of a sample size.
Yeah.
When we have a month to really say, okay, if the Panthers still look like what they do after 4 games, then we can start drawing some sweeping conclusions on what to do with the quarterback, the receivers, the tight ends, with all of these situations. So I'm just excited till we get a nice sample size. Then you can really start leaning into some of these bets. But this was a great show. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. And Dynasty Deal Show on Friday. The members that are here right now, tap in on Friday if you have any of these deals where you're shifting around receivers or pivoting off one and buying another. Throw them in there, 9 o'clock Eastern, Friday nights, Dynasty Deal Show.
Dynasty Deal Show, Dynasty Theory, Shane, Scott, Brandon, Gabe, Ty, the whole squad. And I mean this when I say this. If you're looking for a community where people are talking about this stuff 24/7, and I'm not talking about just anybody, Scott, Shane, Mitch, John, myself, there's people in the chat. Come check it out. Come check out the community. I promise you, like, as we get into football season now, like, there's no better place to be. Like, real conversations, not just posting a newsletter link or putting an article in the chat and going about our day. Like, real discussions, real content. Patreon.com/allgas. We appreciate y'all. Enjoy your Tuesday. Go put some of those waiver claims in. Get that Harold Fannin off of waivers. And Tanner, appreciate you. Excellent show, gentlemen. We'll see y'all next Tuesday. We'll try to go live around this time, but if we can't go live, Scott and I will record the video and release it to you first. It will not hit the public before y'all get this show. Y'all are going to get about 24 hours to just dissect this information before anybody else gets it. So we appreciate it. Thanks for the love, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday.